When a baby's cry exposed a hidden truth, a black maid's incredible discovery changed everything. Ella's heart raced like a drumbeat in a silent room. The rich scent of lemon polish clung to her apron as she moved about the opulent living room, the sun's glow reflecting off gleaming surfaces. Then, out of nowhere, a shrill baby's cry shattered the calm. It clawed at her instincts, and without a second thought, she dashed toward the nursery. Inside, Ella found baby Lizzie, squirming in her crib, cheeks flushed with distress. "Oh, sweet baby," she murmured, lifting her carefully. The child's small body fit perfectly against her, a profound reminder of her own daughter, Kayla. She felt her love swell, a cocktail of relief and maternal pride. This little girl's trust echoed through Ella's soul like a symphony of hope. But as she cradled the infant, an urgent worry flickered in her mind. Did the family know just how much she cared? Did they appreciate her sacrifices? Each day, Ella poured her dedication into this wealthy white family, driven by her dream for Kayla's future, one cemented with possibilities, respectful of her worth. Despite the unyielding barriers of the 1960s society, Ella believed in that bright horizon. But the weight of their world pressed hard against her, a cloud of unspoken biases always looming. As she deftly maneuvered through the polished hallways, curiosity intertwined with trepidation. Something felt off, and her gut twisted tighter with each passing moment. Maybe it was her heightened instincts, honed over years of service, or perhaps it was the flicker of unease she caught on Margaret's face earlier that day. Something was brewing beneath the surface, a secret simmering in their immaculate home. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Ella's world took a dramatic turn when, as she was returning baby Lizzie to her crib, she stumbled upon something unexpected. A small drawer in the nursery was slightly ajar, revealing a collection of letters, some crisp, others yellowing with age. Ella's heart halted. She reached out, a trembling finger grazing the edges of an envelope addressed in a familiar handwriting. Before she could pull herself together, Margaret appeared, her eyes wide with panic. "What are you doing?" she demanded, voice slicing through the air like a knife. The air thickened with unspoken words, their breaths colliding between them. What had she uncovered? And why was the very essence of their lives intertwined with secrets, shame, and vulnerability? As their eyes locked, Ella felt a shift. This was more than just a job, it was a reckoning. She left the nursery and stepped outside among the neighbors gathering for the community meeting that night. Nervous but resolute, she prepared to unleash her truth, her voice steadying despite the uncertainty that gripped her heart. In this moment, her courage would breathe life into the quiet rooms filled with prejudice. Would anyone listen? Would change finally take root? Ella stood on the brink of a storm, her heart pulsing with an urgent desire for recognition and unity. As she took a deep breath, ready to speak, she wondered, would the souls that filled the room open their eyes, or would the weight of their biases push her back into silence? The world around her shifted, and at that moment, everything hung in the balance. Would the ugly truths that bind them be severed? As Ella stepped outside, the warm air wrapped around her like a familiar embrace, yet the impending gathering hung heavy in her chest. She felt the pulse of the community around her, families converging under the fading orange sun, laughter spilling from porches, children running free. But tonight, that laughter felt foreign, almost like a distant echo of dreams that had yet to be fulfilled. Walking toward the meeting place, she caught snippets of conversations. Neighbors discussing trivialities over homemade pies, their voices bright, yet she couldn't shake off the knot tightening in her stomach. What she held inside her, those letters, that unraveling truth, felt like an unlit match ready to ignite a powder keg of emotions. Margaret's frantic gaze had etched itself into Ella's mind. Fear and anger had crossed her features like shadows at dusk. What kind of secrets were hidden in those letters? Were they whispers of betrayal, or echoes of love long lost? This was more than just about her, it was about all of them. What did it mean for Lizzie? For Kayla? Arriving at the meeting, Ella paused outside the weathered door. Voices rose inside, a blend of anticipation and unease mixing like the scent of fresh-baked bread and coffee. She took a moment to steady herself, feeling the weight of everyone's eyes on her shoulders, ready to both uplift and critique her. As she entered, she spotted familiar faces, some smiling, others indifferent. Chairs creaked under the shifting of movement as more people poured in. Above it all loomed the evening's urgency. She could see the organizers whispering, excitement dancing in their eyes. This was supposed to be a night of community, yet so much was at stake. Ella settled into a back row, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The administrator welcomed everyone, speaking confidently about unity, change, and the power they held. Yet, Ella felt the deep chasm of unspoken truths lingering. Could they truly grasp the change if they continued to ignore the pain that rested just outside their doors? When it was time for open remarks, Ella's heart raced. She rose slowly, feeling all eyes turn to her. There was a tension in the air, thick and tangible. The room went quiet, as if they could sense the revelation that was about to spill forth. Gathering her courage, she began to speak, but her voice cracked, and the weight of 100 unuttered words filled the silence. She inhaled deeply, steeling herself. I found something that could change everything for us. Letters that tell a truth I'm not sure we're ready to face. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Faces shifted from surprise to skepticism. Ella, what do you mean? One voice called from the back. Ella's heart raced. This was the moment. They're filled with stories, uncomfortable stories of our past. Secrets that bind our families closer than you think, yet separate us all the same. The air shifted, electricity pulsing through the room. Confusion and curiosity intertwined. Ella could sense hesitation among the crowd. Would they want to hear her truth? Would they be brave enough to confront it? With each word she spoke, the walls around her felt like they were trembling, ready to collapse under the weight of the truth she was revealing. What if, she paused, searching the sea of faces for understanding, what if the very fabric of our lives together is about to be undone? There was silence, each breath held tight. The community felt fragile, like a perfectly balanced moment teetering on the edge. Would they grasp it? Would Ella be able to pull them together with the storm of truth? And then, from the back, someone called out, "What secrets are you talking about, Ella?" Her heart pounded. The moment of truth had arrived, but it was only the beginning. Ella took a breath, her heart racing as the room waited with bated breath. She scanned the familiar faces, her neighbors, her friends, people she had known for years. She couldn't shake off the feeling that all of them held secrets of their own. The letters, she started again, her voice steadier this time. They were written by the families of this community, generations ago. They speak of love and despair, of choices made in silence. Each one of us is connected to this history. But what I found, it brings something to light that could change how we see each other. A slow murmur ran through the crowd, a mix of disbelief and intrigue. Ella could see nods of understanding, people grasping the gravity of what she was saying, yet a twinge of fear lingered in some eyes. The weight of a shared history hoping to surface created a tension that twisted in her stomach. What kind of stories are we talking about? Margaret's voice broke through, sharp and questioning. Ella's pulse quickened. She felt an urge to reassure her neighbor, but the truth felt too dangerous to deliver lightly. Stories of struggles, sacrifices, even betrayals. Ella noticed how the audience leaned in, how even Margaret's brow furrowed in thought. These letters tell of families torn apart by secrets and of healing that never happened. They speak of a community of us losing sight of one another in pursuit of appearances. Ella turned slightly, drawing their eyes to the wall decorated with photographs from past gatherings, smiling faces frozen in time. Could we be living in a world tangled in lies, believing we are the best of friends while hiding from the truth about who we are? Suddenly, a small voice piped up from the corner. Did they mention the baby? The voice was soft but clear enough for everyone to hear. A girl from the back, perhaps no older than 10, looked up at her with wide, innocent eyes. The baby that cried and changed everything. Ella's breath hitched. She hadn't expected anyone to mention it. The mention of that child felt like a flash from the past, a painful reminder of the mistakes embedding in their town's history. This girl's question hung in the air, unspoken yet heavy, like a curtain drawn back to reveal the truth. The baby, Ella echoed, forcing the memory forward. Her cries echoed through the halls of this town that, in stirring moments, forced families to confront their truths. She waved an uncertain hand toward the girl. That baby's life is woven into the letters. More than that, she's woven into who we are. Her struggle reflects our struggle. But the letters also hold hope. They teach us how to rise above it. Marianne, sitting to Ella's right, looked conflicted. But Ella, do we really want to dig into the past? What if it breaks us apart? The doubt whispered through the crowd. Ella felt the challenge surge within her. A choice hung in the air. Heal or hurt? Bond or break? She couldn't turn back now. When has ignoring our truth ever brought us peace? Their eyes turned from her to one another, silent questions dancing among them. Would they choose refuge in ignorance or embrace the pain to heal? In that charged moment, a realization sparked within Ella. She knew it wasn't just about her anymore. This was for the community. If they could face their demons, maybe, just maybe, they could change the narrative that had held them captive for too long. But as the atmosphere thickened and silence fell again, Ella sensed that the hardest truth was still waiting to emerge, just like the letters had unveiled. What if the baby's cry was just the beginning? She asked, her heart racing as she leaned forward. What if it was a cry for all of us to finally wake up? As eyes locked onto hers, Ella felt the weight of possibility surge, and she knew the storm she had begun could not be held back. What revelations would come next, and would they be ready to face them? Ella's heart raced as she stood at the front of the room. The air was thick with uncertainty, making each breath feel heavy. She could see the flicker of emotions in the crowd: confusion, anxiety, but also, perhaps, a longing for truth. What do you mean, the baby's cry? An older man asked, his voice trembling slightly. The way the words slid from his lips revealed his vulnerability. Ella knew he had carried scars from the past. The memories that lingered were not just stories, they were real, personal, and painful. She hesitated a moment before answering. The baby's cry represents so much more than just a sound. It symbolizes the truths we've avoided, the pain we've buried. She was the voice calling for help. A shuffling sound came from the back. Margaret stood, her face flushed, eyes wide with urgency. Ella, this isn't just about the baby. We're talking about our families. What if uncovering this history hurts us? I see the fear in your eyes, Margaret. But isn't it worse to remain in darkness? Ella turned to address the whole group, her voice resolute. We've felt alone in our struggles, but what if those letters are a bridge? A way to connect? A murmur of agreement rippled through the gathering, but hesitation took hold. People shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The weight of unspoken grievances clouded the air. Think of the strong women we've lost, Ella continued, emboldened by their uncertainty. The ones who fought to protect their families, who never got to tell their stories. The baby was one of them. She was born into a world of hurt, and she cried not just for herself, but for all of us. Silence enveloped the room, but it wasn't a silence filled with fear anymore. It was a pause, a moment for the crowd to digest everything she had said. Ella felt the pulse of energy rising, like the tension before a thunderstorm. A voice broke the stillness. What if we uncover something we can't handle? It was Marianne again, her tone softer now, as if she were trying to shield them from pain. Ella took a step forward, earnestness in her eyes. But isn't that what we've been doing, avoiding our truth out of fear? We might not be able to change what happened, but we can learn to understand it. We owe it to ourselves and to those who suffered. As she spoke, emotion bloomed in her chest. The faces surrounding her began to blend together, reflecting back a semblance of hope, mixed with dread. Was it possible they wanted to face this together? Let us not forget those letters, Ella urged. They were left behind, just like the cries of that baby. They gave a voice to those who couldn't speak it. It's time we hear them. A woman in the front row, her hands clasped tightly together, finally spoke. And what if we find darkness where we thought there was light? Her voice quivered, yet there was a hint of defiance in it. Then we face it together, Ella replied, heart pounding. We don't have to walk this path alone. We come together as one community, our shadows and our light intertwined. Every eye in the room was now on her. She could feel the tide turning, the power of their collective past gripped them tightly. It was uncertain, but it was a start that as the realization sank in, Ella's mind raced with the implications of their shared history, the connections that might surface, the open wounds that could finally be tended to. We have to decide, she implored softly. Will we embrace our truth or ignore it? The room grew hushed again. Each person wrestled with their own thoughts as they stared at Ella, who felt the pull of destiny intertwining with each heartbeat. Then, a familiar soft voice emerged from the back, the little girl. If we're going to tell the stories, does that mean we have to talk about the secrets? Ella's breath caught, realizing the depth of the child's words. What secrets could be unveiled, and what truths would emerge? Would they be ready to uncover them? In that moment, as hope clashed with apprehension, Ella stood on the brink of a new beginning. What hidden stories lay waiting to be revealed? The air shifted, becoming charged with the gravity of the child's question. Ella's heart raced again, but this time it was a mix of fear and anticipation. The tension in the room was palpable, each person seemed to hold their breath, collectively weighing the implications of those words. Yes, Ella finally said, her voice steady despite the swirling emotions within her. We will have to talk about the secrets. But those secrets won't define us. They can set us free. She scanned the room, the faces reflecting a range of feelings. Some were anxious, others appeared intrigued, the spark of curiosity flickering in their eyes. She wondered if maybe the innocence of the girl's voice had opened a door that many thought was locked forever. Margaret shifted in her seat, her brow wrinkling in thought. Ella, honesty can be a double-edged sword. Some of us have buried things so deep that even the thought of bringing them to light scares us. A murmur of agreement followed. Ella nodded, acknowledging their fears. I know it's terrifying. But holding on to pain only drags us down. What if sharing these stories could show us we're not alone? We could find strength in each other's truths. A man to the side, his head bowed, finally raised his voice. What if the truth tears our families apart? Some pains were never intended to be shared. How do we even start? Ella stepped closer, her heart pounding in empathy. We start by listening to each other. One story at a time. The letters can guide us. They hold pieces of our past that we've ignored for too long. Marianne, her arms crossed tightly, wore a skeptical expression. And how do we know that opening these wounds won't kill the connections we have? I believe it will strengthen them, Ella replied, her conviction igniting a spark in her chest. By confronting our past, we honor those who suffered. We embrace who we are as a community. We turn the page together. The little girl shifted in her seat, wide eyes glimmering with curiosity. So, we won't just hear sad stories? What about the happy ones? The ones where people made brave choices? Ella smiled at the girl. Yes. Absolutely. There's light in our stories, too. Every hardship has its counterbalance. For every cry, there's a laughter waiting to be told. Our histories can guide us to a better future. As her words sank in, an easing tension began to transform the crowd. Faces brightened, murmurs of acceptance floated around the room, and a new kind of hope blossomed between them. It was as if unseen shackles were beginning to crumble. A voice from the back hesitantly asked, "What if we find out our families weren't as we thought?" Ella understood that the fear of the unknown loomed larger than ever, and she felt an unwavering urge to reassure them. "Then we will embrace that too, no matter how hard it is. We are here to help one another piece together our lives. We cannot control the past, but we can control what we do moving forward." Uncertainty still lingered, but Ella sensed that they all craved healing. Together, they could navigate the storm of stories, the labyrinth of emotions. She could see it in their eyes, the willingness to try. The meeting continued, the question hung in the air like a promise. What secrets would the letters reveal? What stories lay waiting, buried along with the cries of hurt that demanded to be heard? With renewed purpose, Ella felt the contours of this journey changing. She wasn't just there to listen, she was becoming a voice for the voiceless. And in that moment, she couldn't shake the thought that the most incredible discovery had yet to come. What would they uncover together that could shift their entire understanding of family and community? Would they be able to handle whatever was waiting in the shadows? The warmth of shared hope filled the room, but the simmering undercurrents of tension hadn't completely faded. When Ella glanced at the clock, she noted how quickly time had slipped away. Yet, despite the hour, she felt the energy shift, as if a shared purpose knit them closer together. "Why don't we start with one of the letters?" she suggested, trying to ground their fragile momentum. "Who wants to share one?" Silence clung to the air like fog, thick and hesitant. But sooner than she expected, Margaret uncrossed her arms. "I have one," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Ella felt a rush of encouragement. "Thank you, Margaret." "We're ready to listen," Ella responded, her heart thumping with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Margaret removed an aged envelope from her bag, trembling hands brushing off the dust as she carefully unfolded the fragile paper inside. The crowd leaned forward, curiosity palpable. The room fell still. The letter spoke of things long buried, regrets, decisions made in desperation, and much-needed courage. As she read, Ella sat at the edge of her seat, sensing each word resonating deeply with those present. Some nodded knowingly, while others wore expressions of anguish. "This letter is from my great-grandmother," Margaret continued, her voice growing stronger. "It tells of a time when she had to make a choice between her family and doing what she felt was right." Ella could see tears pooling in Margaret's eyes. Pity tugged at her heart, but she encouraged her to go on. She was a maid, a black woman in a world that didn't see her worth. She took care of the family she worked for, but she knew secrets that could shatter lives, including her own. A breathless silence filled the room. Margaret's words hung heavy in the air. She was revealing not just her family's struggles but the shared pain of countless others. Marianne's expression softened, and Ella could see that the walls she had erected were beginning to crack. "What happened to her?" she asked, her voice low as if afraid of disturbing the delicate moment. "She chose to protect those children." Margaret paused, swallowing hard. "Even when it cost her everything." At that moment, the little girl's voice piped up, "But that means she loved them." Her innocent declaration shattered the painful heaviness. "Yes," Margaret replied, a smile breaking through her tears. "She loved them, even when it hurt." Ella felt a rush of warmth envelop the room. For the first time, they were connecting in a way that transcended their individual stories. Each story sparking another, like kindling igniting a fire. A hand shot up, one of the younger attendees, Sam, eager and bright-eyed. "Can I share too? My grandma wrote something in her diary about standing up for herself in a way that changed everything in her life." The ripple of excitement shifted through the gathering. "Yes, please. We want to hear your story." Ella encouraged, feeling the wave of connection swell. As Sam began, it was clear that discovering their past wasn't just about secrets, it was about strength, resilience, and love that transcended generations. The letters were becoming windows into their history, unearthing not just pain but also an undeniable hope for who they could become together. Ella noted the shifting focus, the way people were now leaning in, eager to share, to listen. And within the comfort of their gathering, she sensed that the opening of these old wounds could lead to unexpected healing, but what lay just beneath the surface? Had their collective past forged deeper connections, or would revealing it lead to new fractures? Ella's heart raced as Sam finished, and anticipation crackled in the air. What more truths were hidden in the shadows, just waiting to be brought into the light? As Sam wrapped up his story, the room buzzed with energy. Every face held a mix of admiration and curiosity, but beneath the surface, there was a tangible tension. Ella could almost feel it pulsing in the air, a blend of fear and hope, like a dress rehearsal before the main act. She glanced around, noting how everyone was silently weighing their own stories, contemplating whether they too should step into the light. "Thank you for sharing that, Sam," Ella said, her voice steadying the room's unsteady rhythm. "It's amazing how these small moments in our past can shape us." Just as she expected someone to respond, a familiar sound broke the contemplative silence. A baby's cry drifted in from the hallway. It was a high-pitched wail, insistent and shrill. Ella felt her heart shuffle in response. As if the sound had unlocked something, the atmosphere shifted once again. The distraction pulled everyone's attention. Marianne's face blanched for a moment. "My sister!" she exclaimed, half rising from her seat. "She's watching my little niece. I better check on them." Her voice trembled slightly. Ella nodded, holding a comforting gaze on Marianne. "It's okay. We can wait." As Marianne hurried away, Ella sensed the lingering worry in the air. She turned to Sam and the others, trying to reignite the moment. "Let us keep the stories going," she encouraged, but a palpable unease settled over the room. "Maybe it's time for another letter," suggested one of the older attendees, a woman named Ruth. She had been quiet so far, but now stood up with a firm resolve. "I have a letter from my grandfather. It might help fill this space." "Yes, please. We'd love to hear it," Ella said, sharing the warmth of collective eagerness. Ruth took a deep breath and reached for a packet tucked away in her bag. As she slowly sorted through her papers, the sound of the baby crying returned, louder this time. Ella glanced toward the door, her instincts screaming that something felt off. It was more than just a cry, it sounded urgent. "Ruth, wait," she called softly. But the older woman was already unfurling the fragile paper in her hands. "In his letter, my grandfather spoke of the nights he spent alone, waiting for his brother to come home from the war, but just then, the room was interrupted again." A loud bang reverberated through the hall as the door burst open, and Marianne rushed back inside, panic illuminating her features. The baby was still crying, but now it was accompanied by something even more alarming. Shouted words echoed too. "It's not just a cry, Ella. There's something wrong. We need to go." The group shifted into a flurry of motion. Ella felt a knot form in her stomach. She turned to Ruth, who had gone pale, clutching her letter like a lifeline. "Ruth, please, can you finish later? We might need to help." Without waiting for an answer, Ella pushed through the group, her heart racing. What was happening outside? She didn't know, but urgency propelled her onward. As she stepped into the hallway, the baby's wails softened into a series of broken sobs, and Ella sensed that whatever had been building, whatever hidden truths they had been about to unearth, was now poised to unravel in a way none of them had anticipated. What if this moment of crisis could reveal a deeper bond, or even a truth that connected them all in ways they never imagined? Ella's breath quickened. What new secrets could possibly await them just beyond the threshold? Ella stepped into the hallway, her heart pounding with every hurried step. The cries were more desperate now, echoing off the walls like a plea for help. She pushed through the door, her eyes scanning frantically for the source of the commotion. The scene was chaotic. Marianne stood near the stairs, her sister hovered nearby, cradling the squirming baby, a tiny bundle wrapped in a colorful blanket. But beyond them loomed a figure, an unfamiliar man, tall and imposing, his expression twisted in anxiety. "Is she okay?" Ella shouted over the noise, her voice sharper than she intended. Marianne's sister, her face streaked with worry, replied, "She's teething, but she wasn't like this before." There was a wildness in her eyes, something that told Ella this was more than just a cranky baby. "Who are you?" Ella directed her question to the stranger, who shifted uneasily, sweat glistening on his brow. "I'm just a neighbor." "I heard her crying and he stammered, glancing at the open door as if contemplating escape. "I thought something was wrong." The tension in the air escalated. Ella felt everyone's gaze weighing her down, the community's collective worry pressing at her back. Marianne stepped closer to her sister. "What do you mean there is something wrong?" "She just needs," but the man was speaking again. "Your door was ajar. I thought maybe someone was in trouble." His voice cracked slightly. He took a cautious step forward, uncertainty etched on his features. Ella squinted at the man, trying to read his intentions. Do you know this neighborhood?" "I've lived here for a while now," he replied, glancing over his shoulder. "But I don't usually come around here." His voice trailed off, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. In that moment, Ella felt a rush of responsibility surge through her. It was not about the baby anymore, it was a matter of trust and understanding. She stepped forward, drawing the eyes of the others with her. "What do you know, really, about what goes on in our community? We need to talk." He took a deep breath, hesitating just a moment longer. "I've seen things people would rather forget. You don't know my story, but I think you need to hear it." As those words hung in the air, Ella felt something flickering alive within her. Could this stranger connect them in ways they had yet to understand? She glanced at the assembled group, their expressions mirroring her uncertainty and curiosity. "Ella, what do we do?" Marianne whispered, the baby now calming against her sister's shoulder. "We listen," Ella said firmly. "We have to know." The man nodded, seeming to find some reassurance in her words. He took a deep breath, preparing to share whatever it was he'd witnessed. Ella's heart raced again, sensing that the stories he was about to unfold might not just change her view of this neighborhood, but the threads binding all of them together. Just then, the baby cooed softly, a tiny spark of hope in the midst of fear. Ella felt her pulse quicken. What revelations lay ahead, waiting just beyond this moment? And as the man began to speak, Ella realized they were standing at the edge of something monumental, something that would not just uncover the truth of one life but might change them all forever. The man cleared his throat, a sound heavy with years of repression, as he searched for the right words. "I've seen families like yours," he started, his eyes drifting away from them, somewhere lost in distant memories. "All together. Laughing, crying, living. But behind those doors, sometimes it's not what it seems." Ella exchanged glances with Marianne, her sister standing protectively with the baby snuggled close. The atmosphere became thicker, charged with unspoken questions. "What do you mean?" Ella pressed, her voice low and intense. The man took a step closer, the shadow of his past carving lines across his face. "You don't understand. This neighborhood has secrets. Just last week, I saw a couple fighting. It was louder than anything I've heard before. The neighbors ignored it like it was just another day." He paused, looking deeply into Ella's eyes, as if reaching for some kind of connection. "What kind of secrets?" Marianne interjected, her voice trembling slightly. "What are you saying?" He exhaled slowly. "You think it's just teething problems, just a crying baby? Violence can hide behind those walls. Sometimes it's children, sometimes it's parents. I just thought someone was really in trouble that night." His tone shifted, laced with urgency. "I can't stand by and watch it happen anymore." Ella felt the weight of his words settle around her like a heavy cloak. The cries of the baby seemed to echo the unspoken fears that loomed over them all. "What did you see? What do we need to know?" She pressed, desperation creeping into her voice. The man hesitated again, the moment stretching thin. "I've seen a little boy across the street," and he looks scared all the time. I think he's being hurt. It's just a feeling, but I can't ignore it. The panic in his eyes ignited something fierce inside Ella. This wasn't just an isolated incident, it was a call to action. Marianne's sister shifted the baby in her arms, her brow furrowing with concern. But what can we do? If there is something happening, how do we help? Ella's heart raced. Truth was painful, but it was also a reason to fight. We talk to people. We gather information. We can't just let this happen in silence. A murmur of agreement rippled through the small gathering. The man blinked, surprised by her conviction. But people are afraid to speak. They deny it. It's easier that way. Then we want to let them, Ella said forcefully. If we believe there is something wrong, we have to stand together. We can't hide behind our doors anymore. We're all part of this community, and we have to protect each other. Each person in the room felt that fierce bond tightening, a strange mix of fear and courage flooding through them. It was as if the simple act of the baby's cry had opened a door they never knew existed. The stranger observed them, a sliver of hope breaking through his anxious facade. Maybe if you lead, others will follow. But it will take more than just you. It will take an army. Then we build an army, Ella said, a spark igniting within her. In that moment, the baby began to giggle, a sweet, innocent sound amid the seriousness. As laughter spilled from the tiny bundle, Ella realized they were on the cusp of something bigger, something that could unravel the fabric of their neighborhood, a journey that could change everything they thought they knew. But before they could finish their plans, a loud crash echoed from outside, followed by angry shouts. Ella's heart leapt into her throat. The reality of their resolve was about to be tested. What awaited them outside could shatter their newfound determination. Stay here, she instructed, already moving towards the door. But as she reached for the handle, her mind raced at the thought, what truth were they stepping into? The moment Ella stepped outside, chaos unfolded in front of her. A small crowd had gathered near the curb, voices raised in alarm and anger. The stranger who had approached earlier stood frozen, his expression a storm of panic and dread. Ella's heart pounded as she pushed through the throng, her desperation spurring her into action. Is everyone okay? Ella shouted, her voice slicing through the din. As she broke through the spectators, she caught sight of a young boy crumpled against the pavement, tears streaking down his face while a man loomed over him, his posture menacing. Stop it! Ella's voice erupted before she even thought, the words propelled her forward. Get away from him! The man turned, surprise flickering across his face, followed by a glimmer of anger. Mind your business, lady! Ella pushed back her fear, the fierceness growing in her. It is my business when someone is hurt. We're a community, this is everyone's business. The crowd murmured, attention rising as more neighbors began to take notice, curiosity battling fear. A few began to move forward, fists clenched, protectors of their own. Ella could feel every heartbeat, pounding in her ears, a drumline of unity swelling in the atmosphere. Can you hear me? Ella insisted, her voice rising higher, powerful and unwavering. He is just a child and no one deserves to be treated like this. This has to stop. The man faltered, something shifting in the air. The boy sniffled but kept his gaze glued to the ground. Ella stepped toward him. It's okay. You're not alone anymore. You're safe. She extended her hand, and the boy looked up, eyes wide with fear but marked with a glimmer of hope. Slowly, he reached out, and she took his tiny hand within her own, grounding him, both of them. At that moment, the energy in the crowd twitched. Ella turned her attention back to the man who had been yelling. The stranger surged forward, standing beside her. This isn't a fight, this is about raising our voices together. His voice rang clear, cutting through the lingering rawness that encased the atmosphere. Ella glanced around, others were beginning to rally, joining her, and the tension transformed into a united resolve. We know about the struggles hidden behind those doors, Ella declared, her heart pounding with fevered hope. We support one another. It's time to break the silence trapping us all. In the midst of all this, she felt a flicker of recognition. Faces she had known for years began stepping forward, gutting potential intimidation with the support of shared understanding. Let us help this boy, together, Ella urged, lowering her gaze back to the child who still clutched her hand. Let us protect him, like we would want someone to protect our own. The crowd murmured in agreement now, and the warmth of their collective energy burned bright, simmering with fiery determination. Just then, a woman from a few steps behind spoke up, her voice crackling with conviction. I remember hearing things we ignored. We can't let it continue. The stranger standing beside Ella gripped her shoulder tightly. That's right. We can't afford to turn a blind eye anymore. This child's life matters, a life that deserves joy, laughter, and safety. The crowd began to chant, voices rising from anxious whispers to a throaty chorus. Safe. 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 Ella's heart swelled. It was happening, the change was unfurling like the dawn after a long, dark night. They were united by the shared goal of ending the silence and safeguarding their community, fueled by the baby's cry that had been just a starting point for this profound awakening. The man who once looked threatening now backed away under the weight of their collective resolve. Ella's grip on the boy tightened. You will not hurt him again, she vowed, her voice steady, filled with unyielding conviction. By now, faces shone with courage, support wrapping around them all like an unbreakable chain. And as the boy began to smile through his tears, Ella felt every heart connect, her entire community awakening to the truths they had all failed to face. This wasn't merely about whispers of betrayal, it was about love, protection, and the promise to rise against the ugly truths buried deep. As the marching chants blended into a powerful call for action, Ella felt strength surge through her. They would not allow fear to haunt them any longer. United by shared histories, legacy, and newfound hope, they would rewrite their narrative together. Ella locked eyes with the boy and saw in him not just a reflection of her past but also a spark of their future. In that moment, she understood deeply they were firm together now, each cry a promise and each heart aligned in trust. Ella raised her voice high, letting the wind carry it far. No more silence. We will stand together, fight together, and protect each other. This is a new beginning. As the crowd cheered, their voices echoed like thunder, tangible and real. Ella knew the journey ahead would be perilous, but it would be worth every moment. This was their incredible discovery, the truth that held them close. Together, they would transform fear into strength, turning the painful secrets into stories of resilience and love. And with that revelation, Ella stepped forward into the light of a new dawn, hearts beating as one. Now, amidst all the uplifting memories and aspirations, let us ensure we continue the visibility of our journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that bring hope and change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and fuel more inspiring tales. Comment your reactions, feelings about this transformative ending, and let your voice be heard. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation unfold. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second, this community deserves all of us.